He was warned about the alien sister in heat but left his door wide open. Adam Silver never thought his life would change dramatically because he forgot to lock a door as he pulled his sleek hoverbike into the driveway of his friend Thorin's expansive villa on the outskirts of New Albion Colony. The setting binary suns cast long purple shadows across the manicured lawn. The air was thick with the sweet scent of alien flowers, their bioluminescent petals beginning to glow in the approaching darkness. "Dan, you actually made it," Thorin's deep voice boomed as he stepped out onto the porch. The siren's azure skin seemed to shimmer in the fading light, his silver markings catching the last rays of the setting suns. "I was starting to think you'd gotten lost in the outer ring again." Adam grinned, running a hand through his dark hair that was one time, and the nav system was glitching. He grabbed his tool bag from the bike's storage compartment. "Besides, I wouldn't miss this. How many humans get to work on authentic Seren quantum drives? Well, you're the only human engineer I trust not to blow up my house," Thorin chuckled. Leading Adam inside, the interior was climate controlled to the cooler temperatures Seren preferred, making Adam grateful he'd worn his thermal regulated jacket. They spent hours in Thorin's workshop, bent over the complicated machinery. Adam lost track of time, absorbed in the intricate quantum mechanics. It wasn't until his vision started blurring that he realized how late it had gotten. "You look dead on your feet," Thorin observed. "Stay the night, guest room's yours." His expression grew serious. "But Adam, listen carefully. Lock your door. My sister Marana's visiting, and she's in heat." Adam raised an eyebrow. "In heat? Sarahan females go through intense mating cycles. She's not herself right now. Just trust me on this. Lock your door." Too exhausted to process the warning properly, Adam merely nodded. The guest room was luxurious, with a massive bed that seemed to call his name. He stripped down to his boxers, collapsed onto the silken sheets, and was asleep before his head hit the pillow. He completely forgot about the door. Hours later, in the depths of night, that unlocked door silently swung open. A figure stepped into the moonlight streaming through the window, tall, graceful, with glowing blue skin and flowing dark blue hair that seemed to float in an invisible breeze. Marana's lemon-yellow eyes fixed on Adam's sleeping form, pupils dilating with primal hunger. She moved like liquid mercury, sliding onto the bed beside him. The heat radiating from her body drew him from sleep, his dark eyes fluttering open to find himself staring into those alien yellow orbs, his breath caught in his throat. "I could smell you from down the hall," she whispered, her voice like honey laced with something dangerous. So warm, so vital. Adam's mind raced to catch up with what was happening, but his body was already responding to her proximity, to the intoxicating scent she was giving off. "Your brother warned me," did he? She traced a finger down his chest, leaving a trail of tingling sensation in its wake. "And yet you left your door open. I think you wanted this as much as I do." Before Adam could formulate a response, she pressed her lips to his, and rational thought became impossible. Her kiss tasted like stardust in summer lightning, and when she pulled back, he found himself chasing her lips. "Last chance to stop this," she breathed against his mouth. Instead of answering, Adam tangled his fingers in her floating hair and pulled her back down to him. The last coherent thought he had was that some mistakes were worth making. The twin suns of New Albion Colony painted the morning sky in shades of amber and rose when Adam awoke to find himself tangled in silken sheets with Marana's luminescent form curled against him. Her blue skin seemed to pulse with a subtle glow, her dark hair floating ethery around them. Both the events of the night rushed back to him in a flood of sensations and emotions. "Good morning, my burning star." Miranda purred, her lemon-yellow eyes meeting his with an intensity that made his breath catch. The Sarua, in term of endearment, sparked something primal in him. Before Adam could respond, the door burst open. Thorin stood in the doorway, his silver markings flashing with agitation by the celestial spheres. He exclaimed, his normally composed demeanor cracking. "I specifically warned you." Adam sat up, keeping the sheet strategically placed. "Thorin, I can explain." "Oh, this should be fascinating," Thorin interrupted, crossing his arms. "Please enlighten me on how you ignored my explicit warning about my sister's heat cycle." Marana stretched languidly, seemingly unconcerned about her brother's presence. "Oh, dear brother, you're being rather dramatic. I'm a grown woman." And Adam, as she cast him a smoldering glance that made his skin tingle, quite capable of handling the situation. "Handling the," Thorin sputtered. "Do you have any idea what you've done? The implications, the potential as Adam's engineering mind kicked into gear, finally processing the gravity of the situation consequences. He asked, looking between the siblings. Thorian began pacing his agitation, manifesting in small pulses of bioluminescence across his skin. Cyril and heat cycles aren't just about physical attraction, they're about reproduction, pair bonding, genetic compatibility. Our species doesn't take intimate relations lightly, especially during a heat cycle. The compatibility was remarkable. Morana interjected, her voice carrying a note of wonder. I've never experienced anything like it. The energy transfer, the resonance. Spare me the details, Thorian groaned. But yes, that's exactly what concerns me. Human-Siroan relations are rare enough, but a successful coupling during a heat cycle, the Genetic Council, will be very interested. Adam felt a chill despite the room's warmth. The Genetic Council, our governing body for all matters of reproduction and genetic lineage, Morena explained, sitting up and letting the sheets pool around her waist. Her corset from the previous night had been discarded somewhere in their passion. They're particularly interested in success cross-species partnerships, which are supposed to be carefully monitored and approved in advance. Thorian added pointedly. Adam ran a hand through his disheveled hair. Look, I'm sorry about not locking the door, but what's done is done. We're both consenting adults. Consent isn't the issue, Thorian cut in. The issue is that Cyril and heat cycles create permanent biochemical bonds. You two are now linked in ways you don't even understand. As if to prove his point, Adam suddenly felt a wave of emotion that wasn't his own, a mixture of contentment, desire, and something deeper he couldn't quite name. He looked at Morana in surprise, and she smiled knowingly. The bond is already forming, she said softly. I can feel your confusion, your concern, and your attraction. Thorian threw his hands up in exasperation. This is exactly what I mean. You've initiated a psychic parabon without any preparation or understanding of the implications. I understand enough, Adam said, surprising himself with his certainty. I feel it, this connection. It's like nothing I've ever experienced. Morana's hand found his under the sheets, and another wave of shared sensation washed over them. Both her touch sent sparks of electricity through his nervous system, amplified by their newfound connection. The bond will only grow stronger, she murmured, her eyes locked with his. Every touch, every shared moment. That shouldn't be happening. Thorin interrupted. The council will demand an investigation. They'll want to study this unauthorized pairing. And Adam, you have no idea what you're getting into with cell-in relationship customs. Then explain them to me, Adam said, firmly squeezing Moran's hand. Because I'm not walking away from this. Morana's joy at his words flooded through their bond, nearly overwhelming him with its intensity. Thorian noticed their reaction and sighed deeply. The bond is already too strong to break without causing you both significant trauma, he admitted. But this won't be easy. Sirlin partnerships during heat cycles are meant to be permanent. Our society doesn't recognize casual relations, especially not during such a crucial biological period. Permanent, Adam echoed, but found the idea didn't terrify him as much as it should have. We made for life, Morana said simply, and now thanks to the heat cycle and our compatibility, we're already halfway there. The question is, are you willing to go all the way? The intensity of her gaze held him captive as he considered the magnitude of what had happened and what it meant for their future. The rational part of his mind said he should be freaking out, but the connection thrumming between them felt right in a way he couldn't explain. I need time to process this, he said finally, but I'm not running away. Whatever this is between us, whatever it means, I want to understand it, to explore it. Thorin made a sound somewhere between a groan and a laugh. Well, you'll have plenty of time for that. While we figure out how to handle the council, they'll either want to study you both extensively or banish you to the outer colonies. They can try. Morana said, a dangerous edge to her voice that sent a shiver of excitement through Adam. I've chosen my mate. The old laws give me that right. 3 days after their fateful night together, Adam and Morana sat in Thorin's ornate living room, awaiting the arrival of the Genetic Council representatives. The air hummed with tension and unspoken desires. Their newly formed bond had grown stronger with each passing hour, making it increasingly difficult to maintain professional composure. Stop projecting such intense thoughts, Thorian muttered from across the room, his silver markings flickering with discomforts. Some of us are sensitive to psychic emanations. Morana's lips curved into a mischievous smile As she deliberately brushed her hand against Adam's thigh, the touch sent a cascade of shared sensations through their bond, making Adam grip the armrest of his chair. Sister, please, Thorian groaned. The council members will be here any moment. As if on cue, the Holmes announced the arrival of three distinguished-looking cylinder formal robes, rippled with patterns of bioluminescence that indicated their high rank. The leader, a tall male with intricate silver markings, introduced himself as Archon Pellis. Fascinating, he said, his lemon-yellow eyes studying Adam and Marana intently. The bond resonance between you is remarkably strong for such a new pairing, especially considering the unconventional circumstances. Adam felt Moore's irritation flare through their connection. There's nothing unconventional about choosing a mate during heat cycle, she stated firmly. It's our most ancient law for Culin-Cylin pairings. Yes, the female council member interjected. Her name was Matron Era, and her tone carries centuries of authority. But a human, the implications are unprecedented. The third council member, a younger male named Researcher Darius, pulled out a complex scanning device. With your permission, we'd like to measure your bond resonance frequencies. Adam glanced at Morana, who nodded slightly as Darius waved the scanner over them. The device emitted a series of increasingly high-pitched tones. Extraordinary, Darius breathed, staring at the readings. Their neural patterns are perfectly synchronized. The human's biochemistry has already begun adapting to match cell and resonance frequencies. R plus leaned forward, his interest clearly piqued. And you say this occurred naturally without any technological assistance? The only assistance was my brother's failure to properly warn his friend about locked doors, Morana said, dry, sending a wave of affectionate amusement through their bond. And Adam couldn't help but smile despite the serious situation. To be fair, he did warn me. I was just too exhausted to listen. Remarkable, matron, Alara murmured. Human capable of forming a spontaneous psychic bond during a Culin heat cycle. This could revolutionize our understanding of cross-species compatibility. We're not laboratory specimens, Morana said sharply, her protective instincts flaring. Adam felt her anxiety and placed his hand over hers, sending calming thoughts through their connection. Of course, not. Archon Pellis assured them smoothly, but you must understand our interest. Human-Cylin relations have been limited primarily to trade and diplomatic functions. A viable reproductive pairing could have far-reaching implications for both our species. Adam's head snapped up. Reproductive? You didn't think a heat cycle was just for pleasure, did you? Matron Lar asked, her tone almost amused. The biochemical changes have already begun. Conception is all but guaranteed. The room fell silent as the implications sank in through their bond. Adam felt Moore's mixture of joy, anxiety, and fierce determination. His own emotions mirrored hers, with an added layer of awe at the possibility of creating something entirely new. This changes everything, Researcher Darius said excitedly. A human-Culin hybrid would be the first of its kind. The genetic possibilities are not your primary concern, Thorian interrupted firmly. My sister and her chosen mate have rights under our ancient laws. Archon Pellis nodded slowly. Indeed, they do, but those same laws require proper documentation and observation of such a significant pairing. There will need to be regular examinations, genetic counseling, cultural integration training. And if we refuse, Morana challenged, her hand tightening on Adam's, then we cannot guarantee the safety or legal status of your offspring. Matron Alara stated bluntly, unregistered cross-species births are technically prohibited under colonial law. Adam felt a surge of protective instinct that surprised him with its intents. The idea of his child, their child, being considered illegal was unacceptable through their bond. He sensed Moran's fierce agreement. We'll cooperate, he said finally, but on our terms. We're not going to be treated like research subjects. Archon Pelliot spread his hands in a conciliatory gesture. Of course, we merely wish to document and support this historic union. However, he paused significantly. There is the matter of the traditional bonding ceremony. Adam asked, while simultaneously feeling Moran's spike of excitement through their connection. A public declaration of your union, Foreign explained. It would make everything official under both Cylin and colonial law. and it must be performed before the heat cycle ends. Matron Alara added, which by my estimation gives you approximately 48 hours. Adam felt a rush of desire through their bond. As Morana shifted closer to him, the heat cycle's effects were becoming harder to ignore. With each passing moment, the council members' biolumin patterns shifted in response to the obvious surge of energy. Between them, I believe we should conclude this meeting, Archon Pelia said diplomatically. We'll return tomorrow to begin the ceremony preparations. I suggest you both rest in the meantime. As the council members departed, Thorian muttered something about needing to be anywhere else and quickly left the room alone. At last, Adam turned to Morana, whose yellow eyes were glowing with an intensity that made his breath catch. 48 hours, she whispered, trailing a finger along his jaw. Barely enough time to teach you all our bonding traditions. The surge of images and sensations she sent through their connection made Adam grateful he was already sitting down. I'm a quick study, he managed to say. Her answering smile was both wicked and tender. Yes, you are my burning star. Yes, you are the preparation for a Saren bonding ceremony. Turned out to be far more complex than Adam had imagined. As the twin suns reached their zenith, he found himself in Thorian's ceremonial chamber, surrounded by ancient artifacts and scrolling holographic texts detailing thousands of years of tradition. The mark of unity must be perfectly synchronized. Matron Eller instructed, adjusting the position of the ceremonial crystals around them. Your biorhythms need to align precisely with the celestial resonance. Adam stood shirtless in the center of an intricate pattern of light, watching as iridescent markings, similar to Saren luminescence, were carefully applied to his skin by the ceremony artists. Each stroke tingled with a strange energy that seemed to pulse in time with his heartbeat. Remarkable researcher, Darius muttered, monitoring his readings. The human cellular structure is actually adapting to accept the ceremonial markings. This level of compatibility is unprecedented. Through their strengthening bond, Adam could feel Morana's amused satisfaction from the adjacent chamber, where she underwent her own prep operations. Her emotions were a constant warmth in his mind, growing more intense with each passing hour of her heat cycle. Focus, please, Matron Aura chided, noting his distraction. The marking ceremony requires complete concentration. It's a bit difficult to concentrate with my mate broadcasting such interesting thoughts, Adam admitted, causing several of the younger Kulin assistants to tighter. Nervously, Archon Puss entered the chamber, his formal robes shimmering with complex patterns. The council chambers are filled to capacity, he announced. Word of your union has spread faster than anticipated. Every major family has sent representatives. Perfect. Thorian groaned from his corner, as if there wasn't enough pressure already. The attention is unavoidable, Aaron Pelia stated. This union represents a potential evolutionary leap for both species. The political implications alone are not our primary concern, Adam interrupted, firmly channeling Summovin's fierce protectiveness. Through their bond, this ceremony is about our connection, not politics. The Archon's markings flickered with surprise at his boldness. Indeed, speaking of connection, it's time for the resonance test. The ceremonial artists stood back, their work complete. Adam's torso now bore intricate patterns that mimicked Saren bioluminescent swirling designs that seemed to shift and move with his breathing. Matron Era approached with a crystalline device that hummed within life. This will measure your spiritual harmony and determine if you're ready for the final bonding. Be warned, it can be intense. The moment she activated the device, Adam felt as though electricity was coursing through his veins. The markings on his skin blazed to life, and suddenly his connection to Morana exploded into new dimensions. He could feel everything, her excitement, her desire, her love, all amplified beyond anything they'd experienced before in the adjacent chamber. Morana gasped as the resonance hit her. As well, their shared sense created a feedback loop that made the ceremonial crystals around them pulse with brilliant light. Extraordinary researcher, Darius exclaimed, the resonance patterns are perfectly synchronized. Even lifelong Kulin pairs rarely achieve this level of harmony. Adam barely heard him, lost in the overwhelming sensation of being completely connected to Morana through their enhanced bond. He could feel her struggling to maintain composure as her heat cycle surged in response to their heightened connection. Perhaps we should accelerate the timeline, Matron Alara suggested diplomatically, noting the rising energy in the room. Their bond is clearly more than sufficient for the ceremony, agreed Archonpelia said quickly. The traditional waiting period seems unnecessary given the circumstances. Thorin muttered something that sounded suspiciously like thank the celestial spheres and hurried off to make the arrangements. As the ceremonial team bustled around him, making final adjustments to his markings and ritual garments, Adam tried to focus on the technical aspects of the ceremony. The traditional vows he memorized, the precise movements required for the unity dance, anything to distract from the increasingly passionate emotions flowing through his bond with Morana. The ceremony will begin at sunset. Archon announced the alignment of the binary stars creates the perfect resonance frequency for the final bonding that's hours away. Adam protested, feeling another wave of desire pulse through their connection. Matron Alara's expression softened with understanding. Perhaps some meditation would help you both maintain control. Until then, separate meditation chambers, of course. The knowing looks from the Saran officials made Adam realize just how obvious their mutual attraction must be to a species of empaths. The ceremonial markings on his skin were pulsing in time with his heartbeat, broadcast his emotional state to everyone in the room. Your ability to maintain composure despite the intensity of a Saran heat cycle is impressive, researcher Darius commented, still taking readings. Most non-Saran would be overwhelmed by now. Human resilience continues to surprise us, Aaron Pellis agreed. Perhaps this is why your species has achieved so much in such a short time. Since joining the galactic community through their bond, Adam felt Morana's fierce pride in him, along with other emotions that made him grateful for the formal ceremonial robes he now wore. The countdown to sunset suddenly seemed impossibly long. Remember, Matron Ara said softly, the ceremony is just the beginning. The real challenge will be navigating your shared future as the first of your kind, a true union of human and Selen. Adam smiled, sending waves of confidence and love through his bond with Morana. We're ready for whatever comes next. The answering surge of emotion from his mate nearly made his knees buckle. Separate meditation chambers, Matron Alar repeated firmly. Now, the bonding ceremony had barely concluded when Morana collapsed into Adam's arms, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with unprecedented intensity through their newly strengthened bond. He felt a startling wave of physical changes coursing through her body. The pregnancy is accelerating, researcher Darius announced, his scanning devices whirring frantically. The ceremonial resonance has catalyzed the genetic fusion process. The grand ceremonial chamber erupted into chaos. Political representatives from various Saran factions pushed forward, each trying to offer assistance or claim some connection to this historic moment. Adam held Morana protectively, their ceremonial markings glowing in perfect synchronization. Clear the chamber, Archon commanded, his authoritative voice cutting through the commotion. Everyone except medical staff and immediate family out. As the crowd reluctantly dispersed, Adam felt Morana consciousness brush against his mind, filled with a mixture of joy and concern. Their child was growing at an impossible rate. The hybrid genetics operating under rules neither species fully understood. The human's biological resilience appears to be accelerating. The Gaetian matron Ilara observed her medical scanners hovering over Morana's midsection. The fetus is developing at roughly 10 times the normal rate. Fascinating. A new voice cut in. Adam turned to see Ambassador Reland, ahead of the progressive faction, who had somehow managed to remain in the chamber. This proves that human genetic adaptability could revolutionize our entire species. This isn't a political opportunity, Adam growled, his protective instinct surging through their bond. He felt Moran's appreciation of his fierce response. Everything involving the first human-Kulin hybrid is political counter. Delegate Marius of the Traditional Values Coalition, who had also lingered the genetic implications alone, can wait. Thorian interrupted firmly, my sister needs medical attention, not political debates. But even as he spoke, more faction representatives were finding excuses to enter the chamber, each trying to position themselves close to the historic couple. Adam could feel Morana's frustration mounting. Her heat cycle making her particularly sensitive to the crowded environment. Suddenly, she grabbed Adam's hand, sending a clear image through their bond, an escape route through the ceremonial chamber's private meditation gardens. Without hesitation, he swept her into his arms, their ceremonial robes swirling together As he headed for the hidden door, "You can't leave," Ambassador Rillian protested the protocols for monitoring such a unique pregnancy. "Watch us," Morana purred, her yellow eyes glowing with mischief despite her physical discomfort through their bond. Adam felt her satisfaction. As they slipped away from the political circus, the meditation gardens were a maze of bioluminescent plants and crystalline formations designed to enhance spiritual connections. As soon as they were alone, Morana's heat cycle surged again, her skin practically incandescent with desire. "The pregnancy isn't slowing your cycle," Adam observed, feeling her need echo through their bond. On the contrary, she whispered, pulling him deeper into the garden's privacy. "It's intensifying everything. Our child's rapid development is drawing on our combined energy," creating a feedback loop. If she didn't finish the sentence,